Fighting games are a home to a very specific type of video game player, and while that same home may get various visitors from time to time, it's the players that decide to become residents that make it special. Unlike other competitive video game landscapes, the community that makes up fighting games is somewhat wired differently. From an insider's perspective, the only common denominator that the fighting game community shares with others like first-person shooters, MOBAs, and competitive card games is competition. Aside from the goal of winning, it is safe to say that the thought process and quote-unquote inside baseball that goes through a fighting game player's mind is a great deal different than that of players of other competitive games. Before anything else, the initiation process of most if not all fighting games will be the defining factor of whether or not new players decide to stick around. And while it's not a written law, there is somewhat of an unspoken rule across all fighting games, and that is no free passes.
He popped off.
He was showing off,
and then
he knocked the kid over. That's what it looked like to me. My goodness. Evo 2015, anybody can get it. There is no mercy. Nobody is safe here.
Oh my.
With that said, it should be understood that new players jumping onto the competitive fighting game scene with a considerable lack of knowledge are often victims for the game's hardcore audience. The role the hardcore community plays in the beginning stages of a newcomer's journey is not one of a mentor, but a motivator.
Welcome to Street Fighter.
I don't waste any time.
Welcome to Street Fighter.
You just officially killed somebody's career.
No, or enlighten
I am
them.
motivated. I'm gonna motivate this
He's
guy.
gonna play DiCaprio.
better.
The no free pass rule can be considered as a community implemented filter, and although it may seem harsh to outsiders of the FGC that experienced players hold newcomers accountable according to their skill, it is somewhat of a necessity in order to maintain a fighting game's integrity.
Smashing on the same fucking two moves over and over again and feeling like you're good at this game? That's really tight, huh? You like that shit, don't you, you dumbass? This fucking shithead 2 seconds ago thought he was good at this game because he was doing what I did at the end there. You like that, amigo?
However, by implementing this initiation process, the players that do stick around and wish to learn more after going through humiliating rounds and countless of losses are the ones that earn the fighting game community's respect. Another unspoken rule for the FGC has to do with respect, and while there are many situations in which it comes to play, from constantly going for a reversal, to taunting in between rounds, to even refusing a handshake, the biggest break of the respect rule, considering the passion the FGC has for fighting games, is when a fighting game is not represented in a respectable light. The most recent example of this issue has to do with the highly anticipated Dragon Ball FighterZ, a true authentic fighting game using an extremely popular license in Dragon Ball. The disrespect mentioned towards the FGC is derived both from a general fighting game ignorance to fans of the franchise simply wanting to complain. Taking Dragon Ball FighterZ reception in mind among not only the hardcore fighting game crowd but the mainstream gamer as well, it's likely that the title will do quite well out the gate. However, considering the referenced disrespect towards the FGC and its tendency to quote-unquote initiate newcomers, it is quite foreseeable that many inexperienced players will be up for a rude awakening.
And you know what I do? I beat his ass.
It is perhaps because the FGC values fighting games to such a high degree that when newcomers bring in a mentality that is perceived foreign compared to the standard fighting game player mindset, it is taken as disrespect. The FGC is known for having an admiration for players who put in the work to become successful, not only from a direct gameplay standpoint such as execution and character awareness, but expansive knowledge such as understanding terminology, studying frame data, learning matchups, becoming comfortable with the game's meta, and many other factors that make up a fighting game player's mentality. Taking everything into consideration, it is safe to say that fighting game players are somehow molded to think differently when thinking of other competitive landscapes. If nothing else, fighting games teach extreme accountability. It is personal skill and knowledge versus personal skill and knowledge. There are no excuses for losing, only areas to improve and problems to solve.
I wonder what he's trying to do there. Ooh, that's what he's trying to do. Ooh. Oh, is that guaranteed? It is. Oh, no. That's what he's been trying to do the whole time. Nice.
When new players cease to think along the lines of "at least I didn't get perfected" to "what did I do wrong that led me to getting perfected," it is then when the mentality of the fighting game player changes. The FGC might be small in scale, but it is a special community to be a part of because there is a cohesiveness despite playing so many different games and supporting so many different players. The FGC somehow managed to have the mentality of a fighting game player understood without having it to be explained, and while I was once a visitor, making fighting games my home, although it wasn't easy, it is a decision I will never regret.